What's good, y'all? I hope you guys are having a great day. My name is Solomon Ordell, and today we have our fifth installment of beating Grandmasters with the Hippopotamus Defense. And I'm a big fan of the Hippo. Over 100 videos on this channel. I put it exclusively to the National Master title as white and black. And in this game here, entitled Tuesday, first round, I'm going up against Grandmaster Pavel Tregubov of France. And this is not a clean game. Okay, it's not pretty. It's not flawless. There's a lot of mistakes for both sides, but I do think that you guys will get something out of it. The good moves, the bad moves, the brilliancies, the blunders, and everything in between, right? Before getting into this game, I do want to mention that I'm giving out a 30% off discount code for my over 6-hour course on the Hippo, as well as the rest of my online courses. If you're interested in that 30% off discount, that's only good until the end of this month, go down in the description below or the pinned comment, plug in the discount code CHESS25, and if you do so, you will receive 30% off on your purchase, no matter what course or courses you decide to invest in. But all right, this game here, I'm playing as black, and here Grandmaster Tregubov, first round of Title Tuesday, goes with e4, and I end up responding with the move of pawn to g6. Now, when we're thinking overall in terms of how to play the Hippo, there's a lot of different things, right, that you can do in terms of move order. The Hippo is a setup. You're not confined necessarily to a certain move order, right? But I personally like the Modern Defense. That's what I recommend in my course because I think the Modern Defense does a good job of transposing into the other openings. Like, for example, if you play the Owens Defense, right? And I think that's what Simon Williams actually recommends is the Owens Defense. But if you play the Owens Defense, in my opinion, if you see something you don't like, it's hard to transpose into something else, right? There's not that many opening systems for black that are good with the move b6. The Owens Defense is strong, but or solid at least, but I think the move g6 is, in a lot of ways, a superior move. And I also think that it transposes into stuff like the PIRC defense, the King's Indian defense, the Neo-Modern defense, the Mittenberger Gambit, the pterodactyl defense, a lot of different stuff, just in case you see something you don't like and you wanna go with something other than the Hippo. So that's why I recommend g6. And in general, I just like prioritizing kingside development. I go with 1, 2, and 3 here. e6, h6. And now with castling kingside, I play the move of knight to e7. Now, Hikaru Nakamura for black goes with the Hippopotamus Defense in online chess more than any other opening, and beats titled players with it all the time. Okay, and he often plays a6 very early. I think even before e6 or h6, he just goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And one argument for a6 early is that if you see a4, oh, you already got your pawn there. You can play b6, and this is a big thing that I've focused on with my private students in my online course and my videos. When you see that pawn on a4, you want to have 2 pawns ready to go. That way, if white pushes, you can play b5. Right now in the game here, I play knight e7, which is totally fine. I mean, this is what I've been doing for years now, this kind of setup for the black side. I always go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 or 5, right? Those two moves, I kind of interchange them based on if I'm in the mood for seeing a bishop on g5 or if I'm not. But, yeah, I mean, this position here, Tregubov goes with the move a4, and I don't know if I've seen this. If I have, I forgot about it. I haven't seen an opponent play a4 before I played a6 or b6, right? If you already have one pawn out, oh, you just play the other one out. But in this case, we can't get 2 pawns here in time. Right now, I play the move b6, which isn't great because then white is able to make that pawn a target. What I should have done was a6. Play a6 there, and if white wants to advance the pawn, okay, fine. I don't have time to play b6, but I can throw my knight out. And this is still a sound position for black, but I'm just showing you some arguments for why a6 really early in the game can be helpful, because if you see a4 at some point and you haven't played a6 or b6 yet, this could be a little bit troubling. But again, I do want to say that this is completely sound for us. We're putting pressure on the center. We have ideas like castling kingside, f5, breaking. And if you see d5, you can take. I mean, if the pawn wants to take, fine, we'll move our knight. If you take with the knight, we can capture, and then we actually have the e7 square vacant. And now we're continuing with castling kingside, rook to e8. f5 is a very solid spot that we could put a knight or a bishop on. White does have space, but they have pretty extended pawns, and our bishop on g7 is fantastic, going all the way down to b2 in terms of activity. So still very playable, right? But this is what I'm showing you guys. Options in terms of how to play it as black and why a6 early could be a good idea. But in this game here, I didn't play a6 now, which is the best thing I could have done. I played b6, right? a6 practically at least. And I played b6. Now, here a5 is played. And, you know, it's interesting, right? The engine says, hey, take the pawn, right? Think about it at least. Take the pawn. If the rook takes, we have castling kingside. We could play c5, attacking the pawn while also attacking the rook on a5. I ended up playing bishop to b7, which is a mistake because white could have played a6. And now my bishop is forced back to its starting spot. That's not great. That's not great for us. But all right, I see the move h3. I now play a6, obviously hoping to get time to play b5, but now we see Trigubov take. And this is actually a pawn structure I am very familiar with. I've gotten this a bunch of times with the Hippo. However, usually I get this pawn structure, the whole pawn structure being that I don't have a pawn on c7, but pawns on d6 and b6, when white plays e5 and takes on d6, and then I capture back. But here, white played a4, a5, and took it this way. Now, our pawn structure is the same. However, white doesn't have a pawn on a2 here, but they usually don't have a pawn on e4. And this is better for them to have the pawn in the center, right? White would much rather have a pawn on e4 covering f5 and d5 than a pawn all the way over on a2, which really when white does this, when they push and take on d6, we have a lot of activity. Our bishop looks all the way down to the knight. We're putting more pressure on d4 because that knight's also attacked and under pressure. So this is a very familiar pawn structure for me, but the ways of getting here and the fact that white still has their centralized pawn is not something I'm used to. Even then, very sound position for black, very solid. I ended up castling. I don't want to lose my pawn. King h7, right? Sometimes I'm a little bit cautious of this if there's a bishop on d3, but the bishop's on e2 right now, so I'm fine with playing king to h7. If you play bishop to d3 there, you're using a lot of time, and you know we got options here like queen to c7 or throwing our knight out. Maybe b5, a lot of flexible play here for the black side. And white goes with rook fd1. Now, here I ended up taking some space, and I love the b5 idea. When I started playing the Hippo years ago, I really loved b5. I played it nearly any chance I could get. I still play it a lot, but I've had to learn how to use my flank pawns, use those pawns better, you know, use this knight d7, knight f6 idea better when it comes to the breather moment. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, right, this is a lot of terminology I've made up over all these videos, like the breather moment. That's the moment where you get your full thick-skinned hippo, your full hippopotamus defense setup, and then you have to take a breath and think, okay, what do I do now? Up to this point, I didn't think. I didn't think, but now I am, right? And most games, if you want to play the hippo, you're going to get it. I don't care what you see. I don't care if you see e4, d4, the bird's opening, the freaking Van Gee opening, the freaking b3 or a3 or the English. You're going to get it nearly every time, right? And then that breather moment's when you stop and think. Now, this game here was a little bit different because my opponent played a very, you know, rare a4 before I even pushed one of these pawns. But nonetheless, the ideas stick the same. Pawn to b5. I'm looking at b4. Hey, if I could play b4 and kick that knight and win that pawn, that's great. All right, now queen e3 is played, and I played f5. This was a mistake. Now, we're both, you know, low on time. Now, when the game starts, entitled Tuesday, you got 3 minutes, so it's a fast-paced game. You do have increment, which is nice. But it turns out I should just play slow. Take my own advice. I talk about this all the time on the channel. The Hippo is not in a rush. Play slow, play calm, develop your pieces, right? I played f5 prematurely there. I need to develop my pieces a little bit more. Play queen c7, bring my knight out to c6 or d7, and then start thinking about that kind of stuff. f5 right now is just too early. And if we do play queen c7 and white tries to do something, what are they going to do? We have a great wall built for the black side. Let's say you push to e5. Well, you just gave something up. Let's play knight f5. Kick that queen around. If you play queen to d2, we have a lot of options here, including taking on e5 and really just putting a lot of pressure on white's center in a bunch of different ways. If we see the move d5, okay, here we usually play e5. If you see d5, boom, we lock it up, right? If you see e5, we often think about playing d5. Oftentimes it's not the best idea. Sometimes it is. But here, you know, this whole d5, oh, just play e5 right away thing, it's okay. However, white does have this tactic. That's why it's not the best idea here. In fact, let's just put a brilliant on that one, right? If we capture with the bishop, the knight takes, as we're going to see. The problem with taking with the pawn there, which is really the best thing we can do, is d6, and we get forked, right? And if we try to stop that with taking with the bishop, it's even worse, because now we traded off our bishop, which was giving our king good protection, for a knight on f3. Now we see d6, we're in trouble. So if we do see d5, what do? We could take it. And if you want to take with the e-pawn, all right. I mean, we got b4, we got knight f5, a lot of ideas there. If you take with the knight, let's capture down, play knight to d7. What's our biggest weakness? Our biggest weakness right now is the pawn on d6. That's the biggest weakness we got. What weaknesses does white have? c2, b2, d5. I like black's position. And by the way, the reason we didn't take any of those at the moment, well, first off, d5 just wouldn't be good at the moment, but we didn't take on b2 or c2 because we really do got to develop our pieces, get our developed pieces into the game, get active, and go from there. But okay, in the game here, I play pawn to f5, not losing, but not the best. White could have played e5. Now, usually this doesn't work against the Hippo because oftentimes we have a knight on d7, and white doesn't have a bishop on f4, and white doesn't have a queen on e3. But with all of this freaking protection on the pawn, this works out for white. It does. And if we lock it up here, now it's not looking too great. It's really not. I mean, our bishop isn't active at all. We might think about doing something like this, but it really just feels like we got a lot of weaknesses in this kind of position. White can start to dance as well and throw a knight into c5. They already got a lot of pressure on this king side. If we play g5, white might think about sacrificing and starting to get active. So that's not what we want in that kind of game. All right. But with the move f5, we instead see white capture. I now take with the knight. My general rule of thumb, if you play a flank pawn move in the Hippo, look to the sides. Is there a pawn there? Yeah? Okay, take with the pawn. Oh, there's no pawn? Okay, don't take with the pawn. Take with the knight. That's generally what I follow. And in this case, white is able to take on e6, but I like my position here. Knight c6. We're down a pawn, but d6 is protected. We got 1, 2, 3 attacking pieces on d4. White only has 2 defenders. And our rook is also feeling active right now. A lot of tactical play here, depending on what goes down. And bishop d3 is played here. Apparently, I'm supposed to play knight to b4. And, you know, again, this game here, not a lot of time. My opponent, as you can see, is actually lower on time, which is another advantage of playing the Hippo. You're playing what you've done hundreds of times. Your opponent is like, what on earth is happening? I've had an opponent over the board laugh at me in a serious tournament game. The tournament I had at National Master, actually, when I was playing the Hippo. He just kept laughing every move I made. And I was like, I mean, all right. I mean, okay. I'll just keep playing. But it was kind of weird, right? Like someone laughing at all your moves. But okay. Knight to b4. Good move once I look at it. If white takes and takes again on d6, what happens here? Well, this is something interesting when it comes to the Hippo. And that's the fact that those bishops at the start, they're kind of just looking at a pawn on d4, a pawn on e4, but at some point in the game, those bishops will unleash. Bishops are the heart of the Hippo, and in this position here, I can take on c2, attacking the rook, attacking the pawn. Let's say you save your rook. Well, I'd like to take on d4, but oh wait, there's a knight there. So let's remove the knight, remove the defender. If you want to take on c2, thanks for your rook on d1. If you take my bishop, thanks to the bishop on g7, my knight can take. So one of my bishops was useful. The other one is now useful. We're now sitting at even material. But if you look at white's pawn structure, every single pawn is isolated. And this one is already attacked twice. Okay, I'm not going to say this is resignable for white, but white is in trouble. White is in trouble there. But in the game here, I play rook to f6. After queen e4, I play knight to a5. d5 is played there. Good move from white. Queen to c7. g4. I'm in trouble now. I'm in trouble, right? I missed my opportunity there. I missed my opportunity to go after that bishop, play actively, looking at d5, looking at c3, looking at f3 ultimately, right? Because the pawn was on d4. But here I go, knight e7, g5 is played. I play rook to f5. I'm just trying to defend here. I'm trying to hold on. There's a lot of tension in this position, but white is up material and they're attacking. Of course, here against h4, I took the knight, and then once I took the knight, and as you can see here, I didn't really use much time at all. I went, oh my gosh, I could have just freaking played knight takes d5. I didn't have to give up my good defensive piece here that was covering g5, very important square, as you're going to see in this game. I could have just took the pawn. I had the numbers. Of course, I only saw that once I finished my move, but if knight takes d5 is played, my bishop captures back. We're good. Look, you want to run away with your queen? Thanks for the bishop. You want to hold on to your bishop? Knight to c4. Knight to c4, attacking the queen. The only move for white that is not dead lost is bishop takes c4, but didn't see that in time. I took on c3, knight g5. I brought my king back. I mean, no matter what I do here, I'm dead losing. Queen takes e3. Now, I believe I was looking at queen takes e7. Yeah, I mean, that's just crushing. I mean, if I see that move, I'm just resigning, right? Again, this game, guys, not flawless, not one to put into a Hippopotamus Defense chess book, okay? Let's just get that out of the way in case any of you are thinking about writing a book. I'm thinking about writing a book, by the way. Let me know what your interest level would be in that, a Hippo Defense book. But, all right, rook to e5. I decided to attack the queen, see if white's going to mess things up. Of course, they don't right now. Bishop to d4. I play queen to c7. Notice I can't take your queen because my rook is pinned. I mean, this is just terrible for us. Queen f3. I take the pawn. I play knight f4. Bishop takes b7 is played. Right, a lot of white's moves here weren't the best, but they're not bad. I mean, if you make a move and it's not technically the best move, but you're still winning, it's not a bad move. Rook to f8 is played. And white ends up doubling up. White should have looked at just rook takes a6. But here I play the move knight c5. And by the way, I'm, when we're talking about analysis here, I'm being hard on white. I'm being hard on myself. But if you look at the time here, guys, white has 12 seconds. I have 8. Okay? This is that time in the game where it's like, hey, we can't really think. I mean, you see a move, you got to play it. You don't got time. I play knight to c5. Apparently here, I thought this was a fun tactic. This is why I'm sharing this. In fact, you can pause the video if you like and try to figure out what the best move is here for white. What's the best move? Assuming you've paused the video, rook to d8. Beautiful move. And when Stockfish was telling me to do this, I was thinking, what? Like, honestly, is Stockfish tripping? The answer is no. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've actually seen Stockfish trip too much yet, but sometimes you wonder if it is, but it wasn't. In my head, I'm thinking, Stockfish, what are you doing? I got 2 attacking pieces. But then I realize, oh, wait. The rook comes in. I have to take with the queen. Now my king and my queen are in an optimal position for knight f7. But my opponent here, Tragubov, misses that. I mean, you got 12 seconds. We see knight e4. And here I should have captured the knight, or maybe went to e6. I ended up playing queen to c8. And going with knight h3. Now, my opponent, big mistake there. Taking the knight. That's not good, right? Knight to g5 is a great idea because I am threatening knight h3. Knight h3. That's the whole idea of queen c8. The queen defends the knight. And, yeah, I mean, we're going to look to win that queen. If you play knight to g5, the knight covers h3. So if we check, the queen just calmly takes. And the queen covers e2. So if we do see knight to g5 there, there's no checks here that work. In either case, the queen can just capture and get out of the way. However, in the game here, we have knight takes c5. Now I throw in a check, and if you move your king, I'm taking your queen. If you take on h3, well, now I just take back, and you don't have a knight on g5. Your knight's on c5. It's misplaced, right? But okay, king g2 is played. I took on f3. The battle's far from over. Rook to d8. I drop my rook back. We have rook takes c8, knight to d7. And this position here, okay, again, this is a position here where Tragubov has 7 seconds on the clock, but I thought that this idea was interesting. Knight to e4. He definitely would have found this if this was a longer time control. Knight to e4. This is the only move for white that is clearly winning. And here's the idea. I got to save my knight, right? I mean, sure, I guess I could take on, c2, but that has a bunch of issues as we're about to see, and I don't want to drop my knight on h3, so I save my knight, and here if I do take on c2, knight to g5 can be played. White is threatening a back rank mate. My king is powerless. Even if I run to g8, it doesn't matter. Rook to d8 is checkmate, so, I mean, I could throw in a check here, and I could throw in another check, and I could get rid of the knight, that way I don't get checkmated, but at the end of this, I mean, sure, I got a couple of pawns, but you got 2-on-1 over here. You got a rook, you got a king that's ready to start marching in. This is just probably not going to go too well. White could mess it up, but probably not. Especially when you're talking about a GM. Rook to c8. Right, rook to c8. What does white do now? Rook to d7. b4. And just a beautiful sequence here. b4, not the best move, but I wanted to show you just this tactical idea. White here doesn't have to push a pawn. White here doesn't have to start attacking this guy. What should white do here? Check. Look at how the rook, knight, and pawn work so beautifully together. This is amazing. King moves, rook to g7. If we go to the corner, checkmate. All right, let's just go back to the start. King g8, forced. You check us again. Is that forced? No, right? You can go to f8. But if you do go to h8, checkmate. So in a way, it kind of is. King to f8. Now we get checked again. Literally forced. Now we get checked again. Can we technically go to d8? Yeah, but then we get checkmated. So we go back to f8. Then we get checked again. Then the king moves. That's forced. Then h7. White's looking to promote. Just thought that was a pretty sequence. But in the game here, we have knight to d7. This allows knight to f4 with check. I ended up taking on c2. I should have, instead of that, I should have went with the move of rook to d8, pinning the knight to the rook. But I ended up snatching off a pawn, playing knight e6, looking to stop that rook d8 activity. Rook d7 is played. Very active move. I throw in a check. This is, again, losing for black. I mean, you got 4 seconds against 12. Just madness at the end of the game here. And here white sacrifices the rook. Now, this is winning. This is winning. However, here white misses h7 check. That's winning. I only got a few moves here, okay? If I go to f7, that just doesn't make any sense, right? I lose my rook, and that's going to promote. If I go to g7, white could still take the rook. Take the rook, right? Don't promote there and trade down everything. Just take my rook. And if you take my rook, either I got to run to b4, in which case your knight is going to very quickly get back, or we take the knight and then, okay, well, we might as well just resign. And if we take this pawn, we lose our rook and we get checked again. And again, I mean, this knight's going to be able to stop those 2 pawns pretty easily, and white has 2 pawns coming down. We're dead lost. But in the game, Trigobov misses this, and we see the move of a knight takes f8. Now we have a drawn position. This is a dead draw. And I'm actually going to spend some time talking through this position because there's some good endgame principles here. Okay. In the game, king g5 is played. That's losing. Dead lost. We got to look at the square rule. And with the square rule, you eye up a passed pawn. It only matters if it's passed, right? Like if there's 2 white pawns here, who cares about these 2 guys? They're not going to be able to promote. But these are passed pawns. There is nothing in the way. There are no white pawns in the way to stop these guys. So the king has to do it. What you do, highlight a pawn. You can count, right? You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd really start getting to the end of the board. You go 5. Okay, I'm going to go 5. I usually just, boom. I just draw a line to the corner in my head, and then I finish out the box. Okay, for this pawn here, white has to get within this area in order to stop it. If white isn't in that area, the king's not going to catch up. So for this pawn, the king has to go to, one of those spots, right? You got to get into that box. Now, in the game here, king g5 is played. This doesn't get in the box of this guy, nor this pawn either. And that's the other thing too, right? Even in that position there, you got to worry about this box as well, right? You got to worry about that. But okay, in the game, king g5 is played. We'll cover that. What should have white done? You got to get in the box. You got to get closer to these pawns, okay? I know that you have an h-pawn there that's close, but you're not able to promote it. You just can't do it. You got to get your king over to help those guys out. Now, we as black could win this position if white messes up. Keep in mind, these 2 pawns here are indestructible. Can white ever take this pawn? Nope. Can white ever take this pawn? No, because then we're going to run, right? Let's say you come all the way over to here. Can you take that? No, then we run. So this pawn here, you can't take it. This pawn here, you're not allowed to take it. Now for us, any of these pawns we can take, they're isolated, but this is where the building a wall technique comes in. And what it comes down to is white really building a wall with pawns that are 2 files apart, 1 file in between. Let me show you. So let's say we play king to g8. White plays king e4. We play king h7. You can't save that guy, right? But let's say we do take. Here is what white needs to do. Before we play king h5, attacking one of the isolated pawns, white needs to play f4. White needs to get these pawns on the same rank. That's very important. Before we attack one of them. Now, if I brought my king to f5, which I obviously can't do, h5 would be played. If I play king h5, f5 could be played. And notice, I can't take this pawn because of f6. I can't go to g4 because of f6. And I can't go to either of these squares. So those pawns have built a wall. And because this pawn has advanced, I can't take this guy. I can't do it. I can't do it. And let's say I go back to try to win that guy, right? Let's say I go to h6 and then g7. White here, you can't play king over to b4 because then I go here and we're going to take that. White needs to make sure that those pawns are evened out. Let's just go over it. King to b4. Are these pawns on the same rank? No? Okay, let's attack one. Now if you even it out, there's no wall here. We take the pawn. Your pawn is too slow. You're not going to be able to promote. So what you got to do, if you're white there, let's just flip it. You got to make sure these pawns are on the same rank. Pawn to h5. That way, if I go here, boom. If I go here, boom. That's the general idea. These pawns can't force themselves to the end of the board most of the time. When you're just talking about the pawns themselves, maybe the king can come and help out, as we're about to look at, but generally speaking, these pawns, I can't force these pawns to the end of the board against a king. I can't force these pawns against this king on g7. But in this position here, kind of a crazy, bending of the rules. Here with king f6, h6 is actually winning. Here's the idea. When I bring my king back, these pawns by themselves, they can't promote. If you push this here, the wall breaks down. If you push this here, I just take it and I'm in the box. But white here can play king to d6. Even if I push my pawn, white plays h7. I mean, I got to stop it. f6 with check. I can't take it or else I get checked. And now f7, king e7. White wins the race. But again, hope you got something out of that little building the wall technique. Remember, you want your pawns on the same rank before the king attacks one of your pawns. The second the king does, you move the other pawn. Okay, that's the idea there. And that applies when you have one file in between the pawns. One file in between, right? For example, h4 and f2. There is one file in between those. That's where building the wall technique comes in. These pawns here, we don't need to build any wall. We just do this and we're good. Okay. But in the game here, king to g5 is played. I start running is what I should have done. I played king to g8 there. Not sure why I did that. b4 is winning. Okay. But I played king g8. And again, I'm giving white another chance here. Right? You gotta get within the box here. You gotta get within this box. Okay, so this is a draw and this is a draw. You gotta put your king here. White ends up playing king g6. I finally go, you know what? I can push my pawn. And push my pawn. And push my pawn. And white's too slow. White can't do it. If white did play h7 and then f6, check. Resignable for white. In the game, we have king f6. I end up promoting, taking the pawn, and white resigns the game here. Again, guys, far from flawless. A lot of mistakes, and that's at least for me. That's pretty normal in faster time controls. I find personally that my... Not me looking up at the sky like Hikaru. I find personally that my accuracy gets worse. A lot worse when I'm going from 5 minutes to 3. 5 minutes, I feel like I can hold it pretty well usually in terms of playing at a high level. But 3 minutes, that's kind of the time control for me where my accuracy just gets really bad. And then bullet, don't even go there with me. Okay, don't even go there. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of it down below. Let me know what other Hippo content you'd like to make. And again, I'm thinking about writing a book on the Hippopotamus Defense. Let me know what you think of that idea. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. And if you are, what kind of stuff you'd like to see in the Hippo Defense book. Again, 30% off discount code, only good until the end of this month. That discount code is CHESS25. You plug that in, you will get 30% off on my Hippo course or any of my other online courses. I'll see y'all tomorrow. To finish out, I wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon community, specifically Walter, Rob, Steve, Rob, Ray, and Roger, and the rest of my Patreon community. Thank you guys for your support. If you haven't checked out the Patreon already, there are some exclusive benefits that you gain by becoming a member. I look forward to seeing you over there, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.